We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Village Clerk, please call the roll.
Burgess? Here. Jones?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Tates?
Here.
Washington House? Here.
Here. And just to clarify, this is for the committee meeting agenda Tuesday, February 21st, 2007. Item number 2 on the agenda is the insurance renewal. Owens Group, if you guys could please step up. Make sure that the mic is on and that you speak directly into the mic, please.
Good evening.
Good evening. Press and hold the button until it turns green. I feel like this is really loud.
Evening? Good evening. There it is. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Valerie Lewis from the Owens Group, and I have with me Bruce Mitchell, who's also from the Owens Group. We're here tonight to present your property and casualty renewal insurance proposal for your insurance that comes up at the end of March. What we have done is negotiated up until the last time to make sure that we have gotten the best program for you this year. And we acknowledge that you would normally get a packet electronically prior to today, but we wanted to make sure that you got the absolute best options that were available to you, so we were negotiating. And we also are giving you this in advance enough time where you can look through it. If you have questions, you can ask us questions. You have a good amount of time before this comes up for renewal, and then we could come back in March, and when you decide for us to come back for your vote, we can do that at that time. So we want to get right into the document. The first page of it is our service team, which is comprised of myself, Bruce, and William Owens, who is the owner of the company. Our contact information is listed, so if you do have questions, you can either get those questions over to Mr. Fairman, or you can contact either myself or Bruce directly. We will be more than happy to do that. When you turn to the next page of the document, what we've done for you is given you a snapshot of historical snapshop for the village. As you all know, you have commissioned us to do a good amount of risk management work for the village to work on cost containment and claims issues. Trustee Taylor, you haven't? It's this page. You don't? This the next page of the document you have. Yeah. Okay. All right, he needs, Madam Clerk, could you give me another copy, please? The proposal document itself. He has it? Okay. You do have it, okay, great. Making sure everybody has everything. Put these together myself. I thought we were all solid. So on this page, what it goes over is a snapshot of, from a high level, what your claims history is like, what your outstanding open claims are that we have given us. Yeah. Uh-oh, okay. Oh no, here we are. It had a glitch. What your, the area in the dark bolded lettering, those are your, what we call the open claims. They're still developing. These are some of your larger claims that we are contending with right now, that we are working with claims adjusters, which is underwriters, safety and claims, as well as working with your attorneys to manage the process. Prior to that is just a background on what your program looks like. So from last year, the current program that you're on now, you have $4.95 million in limits, and then you have a $2 million umbrella that sits over that. You're over deductibles of $50,000 for your general liability, so things like slip, trip, and fall would be under that. Auto liability, law enforcement liability for your police activity. The only deductible that is different currently is the public officials liability, which is at $75,000. That is the coverage for you all operating as officiators of the village. For the renewal, Chubb Insurance is your renewal, is your carrier. They wanted to keep the retentions the same as you have had this year. However, at one point there was some back and forth because of the loss history that's below. What we were able to negotiate today is to keep the retention levels the same as they are now. And when we get to that point a little bit, Bruce is going to talk to you more about that. I just want to give you a snapshot of where you are. So if you look at the first chart, the liability claims by year, you'll see that the village is trending downward significantly from 2007, where you had about a little over 15 claims, to 2008, which was your highest number, approaching 25 claims that year for these $60,000 mark. And then you are now trending down to the current year where we do not have any significant open claims. We have smaller, minor things that we are managing through the process. You're expected to have some claims. You are a municipality. You do things like you're running out in the street, you're doing trenching, shoring, all kinds of great stuff, cutting trees and running after dogs and bad people. And so we expect you to have claims. What our job is to do is to make sure that you're doing the best job at operating safely from the workers' compensation standpoint, as well as from a liability standpoint, that we're not incurring any third-party damage. We are minimizing that through sound procedures, policies, standard operating procedures. So we are working on projects like that now, where we're developing procedures, policies and procedures in each department. One of the major things that you had us work on this year is your HR employee manual. And that has now been completed. We want to make sure that it's rolling out and that everybody understands it and that they are comprehending what your policies are as a village. That affects these numbers that we're looking at on this page. So you do see above it where some of the larger ticket items are things we're working on, like a law enforcement claim for $295. Those are pretty big items, and we want to make sure we manage that all the way through. As far as the workers' compensation claims on the next page, we have been working with your insurance company, the Illinois Public Risk Fund, to do more aggressive claims management. Prior to our involvement with that, it was pretty much a hands-off process. Because your workers' compensation is at no deductible, it was pretty much all the carriers' money, and they made all the decisions. When we got involved, we said, hey, wait a minute. Employee X is not back to work. Why not? Employee X can come back to work. We have to do these things, or the employee X has to show us this information, or maybe we need to have the proper documentation for employee X, but we need to start managing that process and bringing people either back when they can come back, or if they're out treating and they need to treat, and we manage that better. So although we don't have the same skin in the game as we do on your liability, because you have a $50,000 retention, we treat it the same, because inevitably, you can have that same employee that gets into a car accident. We have to manage the car, the employee, and anybody that they hit. So we're looking at it collectively and holistically. Same as the liability, on your workers' compensation, you'll see that you are trending downward significantly, and that is due in part to a lot of work being done behind the scenes with safety. We're turning over every stone that we can to see what can we be doing better. Are we managing our processes and our policies better? Do people understand where resources are to do better training? Do we have the right equipment? Is the equipment antiquated? Do we need it repaired? We look at the full gamut of everything on your behalf. So your workers' compensation numbers have improved over the last years, due in part to a lot of the work that the village is doing with us and what we're doing collectively as a group. Every year, we have looked at where does the city still have exposure. And in that area, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce, because we did identify one area where you had some open exposure, and we thought we need to address this up front with you and get the pricing for you, and then tell you what could happen if you don't consider that. That's where you're most vulnerable right now. And I'll turn it over to Bruce Mitchell.
Thanks, Val. Valerie basically sets up the pins, and I actually knock them over in dealing with the carriers. The goal of the Owens Group is to have a concise message for the carriers that the safety concerns of the village are translated into the submission that we submit to them. That your goal is to reduce claims as much as possible, and that we're helping you achieve those goals. In this year, with the types of claims that municipalities are seeing. They tend to lean towards law enforcement liability, public officials. When you have claims activity in those two key areas, you see your rates increase dramatically. They don't really care about slip and falls as much as they do publicity that a municipality might generate from losses in those two key areas. Having said that, the municipality world, the carriers are looking at 7 to 10 years of losses. Now, as Valerie had pointed out, the village is trending in the right direction as far as the losses are concerned. For the year 2016, there aren't any open claims that are as much of a concern as in the last 5 years. So in 2014 and 15, there were a considerable number of law enforcement liability and public officials claims, and that's what's driving the marketplace. We approached over 12 markets on the village's behalf in the packet. I've listed a number of them, but that is not the entire marketing effort that we put forth for you. The incumbent carrier for the village is Chubb. We definitely approached them, and they were aggressive in offering renewal terms. We also approached Old Republic. They're also a heavy hitter in the municipality industry. AIG, most people have heard of AIG and their reputation within the insurance industry. Munich Re, they're a big player for package coverage for municipalities. Markel, they specialize in writing excess layers above the primary coverage. Allied World, they're also a big player in the public entity sphere. Trident, Houston Casualty, and AIX Hanover are some of the markets that we approached. Chubb offered renewal terms, very strong terms. Old Republic also came to the table with very strong terms. Munich Re, they quoted, but their rates were not where we would want them to be. Their numbers are represented here to show you what the marketplace bears. Your program renewed last year at $197,927 with Chubb. Chubb, we were able to get them to offer terms at $191,180. So you're looking at a 3% reduction over last year, even though you have open claims that are still trending. That's to the hard work that Valerie has brought to the village and the narrative that we presented to the carriers. Old Republic came to the table with the same retentions as expiring, but their pricing was at $196,000, which is higher than Chubb. AIG quoted the crime coverage at a flat rate for the village. Munich Re came to the table and they were offering the same retentions, but with a premium of $500,000. That's a stark difference from $191,000. Markel came in as far as the excess layer is concerned. They offer two options, $2 million, which is per expiring, and $5 million, which is what we would recommend. The pricing is significantly higher than last year. What we have seen in the excess layer is that National Casualty, your carrier, they wrote a lot of coverage for municipalities in the excess layer, and they took a lot of losses because of police, law enforcement liability, and public officials. They got completely out of the market. They will not even offer terms at $2 million. Every excess carrier, generally the market was, last year they were offering $10,000 per billion. So your premium last year was $22,000 for $2 million in excess coverage. This year they're offering, it's almost like $15,000 per mil. So the marketplace, as far as excess coverage, is on its head right now. With regard to Allied World, they declined experience in the last 7 years. The same can be said for Trident, Houston Casualty, and AIX Hanover. They refused to offer terms because they did not feel that they could compete with the Chubb program. Now I want to highlight that Chubb is one of the largest insurance providers in the industry. They have a form that is beyond reproach, and they're very aggressive in this marketplace. So the terms that were offered are the best terms that we could get for you. We also, on this sheet, highlight the program. The total renewal program cost is $363,483, which is a 3% increase over last year, but that includes risk management, TPA services, exactly. ACE Chubb, the primary, they quoted 4.95 million limit with a $50,000 retention for P.L.A.N. Now, there's an exception. What Val was saying is true. I was talking to the underwriters on my drive in, and they did offer to keep the retention per expiring. They wanted to increase the LEL retention up to 100,000. I got them to lower that to 75, and I browbeat them to get it down to 50,000. So it's per expiring. The ACE pollution program, as I said, is flat at $1 million limit per the expiring coverages. The same can be said for AIG's crime. The Chubb property program came in flat, and as I explained earlier, the Markel excess program is slightly higher than last year's program. We also included, as an addition to the packet, the program cost guide, which is a little larger. The print in the packet is a little condensed, so this gives you a better ability to actually read the numbering. But as the numbers per expiring, the total property and casualty cost for the village was $261,738. The renewal program is $292,983. That's a 12% increase, but that is because of the excess layer and not the primary coverages. The risk management TPA services for last year was at $89,900. For this year, it is $70,500, which is a 22% decrease from last year, and that's why the overall program is slightly higher than last year at 3%, is because the services, the cost of the services has gone down, the cost of the program is relatively flat.
Main thing that we want to point out is that we were able to, as Bruce stated, to negotiate to have the law enforcement deductibles stay where it is. That's very important for you because it affects your budget. If you're not properly set up to handle a larger retention, it becomes a problem when you have a claim presented and then you have to find that extra money. So that helps you with your budget. Our position is that in Cook County, and I know you're slightly Will and slightly Cook, but you're primarily all Cook, okay? All Cook, especially when it comes to any kind of lawsuits, it's Cook. Cook County has been slammed with losses, especially in the police liability area. Our carriers have taken a beating across the country. Exactly what Bruce was talking about earlier. So as much as we can maintain retentions, and still work very diligently hard on our program. The back of the house, we talk to Chief Kowalski, it seemed like every day, about something. So we're working on that, and we've told the narrative to the underwriter, look, we're good. We're doing our job. We're doing what we're supposed to do. Look at where we're going. We understand you had to look at where we've been, but look at where we're going. Look at what we're doing. This is a team effort. So we've pounded that home to them, and they rewarded us by saying, yeah, we see what you're trying to do here. We're going to stay with the 50. I had to tell them a lot. I had to give them everything I've been working on, but I had to put that together for them, and that's my whole job to do for you. The main thing, that exposure that we were saying that you still have open, is that umbrella layer. I'm not comfortable at all with you being at a $2 million limit in this litigious society. I just feel like that's your biggest exposure to me that we can do something about. There's some things that we just have to accept. You know, the operations of the village being as what they are, some things you just have to say, well, that's a function of doing business. Having not enough limit at your top layer, that's something we can avoid. It really is. So what we've done is we put the pricing in there. It still puts you in the 3% range. You do have what it is listed below, but that is not our recommendation that you do that. From purely a standpoint of where you're located and what kinds of losses have been in this area. It's easy for somebody to run from Chicago right to Sauk Village, hide in their grandmother's house, and then have a shootout. We could have the same issue, or someone tackle a kid in the school and when our police officers get involved in it, and then we're on the news. My job is to keep you out the news. That's my job. I don't, no news, period. Good, bad, indifferent, I don't want you in the news, period. You stay out the news, keep your name out the news, that's my job. So but at the same time, we have to be prudent. Do we have enough on the top? No. We kind of stair-stepped to get to where we were. If you remember, trustee, we didn't have anything. So we stair-stepped to that, but I'm not very comfortable with you not having enough coverage in those areas. Prayerfully, we never have to use it. Prayerfully. Idealistically, in this time and where things are going, I don't foresee people figuring out the gang issues like that, or the poverty issues like that, or the housing issues, or the hunger. Overnight, let's protect ourselves better than that. So we put together the program so that we can offset some things and still give you the coverage you need, still give you the services you need, and keep it affordable to you at the higher umbrella limit. And that pretty much is our proposal. The program structure, which is the chart with all of the bars, is basically a down and dirty of what the policies would look like. The policies are delivered to Mohan and Mr. Fairman, and we go through those in detail. But this gives you a snapshot of what limits you have per tower. So it'll tell you your property limit for all of your business, the property, the buildings, and things is 14.8 mil. Then you have a business income limit of 2.5 million, and then an auto physical damage at 2.6, and then the deductible for what that is applying to for the auto physical damage. Then you have flood coverage, real important to us here, okay? 5 million for that, earthquake 5 million as well. People don't think that we could have an earthquake, but with fracking, with drilling, with ground movement issues, we think that this is an exposure that we need to make sure we keep that limit where it is. Pollution, that's historical, we know we need that coverage. And then you have a $1 million limit with a $2 million act. And then the crime, that's always something for a municipality to have. It covers your public officials as a part of it, and so that people don't have to be individually bonded. And it covers you all, but it doesn't cover any kind of pension boards or anything like that. They should have their own insurance, and if they do not, you need to let us know. But this is strictly for our employees and for our public officials here. And then that bigger green box is your package program. So that encompasses everything that's there, the general liability, the auto, and the public officials, employment practices, discrimination, sexual harassment, wrongful terminations, things like that, law enforcement, excessive force, civil rights violations, all of that's in the green box. And then the workers' comp we put on this, although it's not a March 27th date, it's a January 1st date, we put that there so you can see what limit you have. You're not on a deductible program, as I stated earlier. So that one we kind of monitor too, just because as fiduciary to you all, we want to make sure that they are monitoring your money properly and not just letting claims ride and then charge you for the premium, which is often what happens when you're on a no deductible program. You don't get to control it as much, but we are doing that anyway. So with that being said, you have time to review this information. You don't have to vote on anything tonight. It was not being brought to you for a vote. It's being brought to you for informational purposes only. If you have questions, please let us know either via, through, clerk, you want them to send their questions to Mr. Fairman or just contact me? Okay, direct them all through Mr. Fairman and then he'll get back to me. He talks to me also almost daily, so I will respond accordingly and make sure that you guys get what you need and understand if there's anything about it that is questionable, or if you think, you know, I have an exposure that you didn't talk about. I think that we have an open area that you haven't spoken about. Please let us know that, because as we continue to do this, we learn more about the operations and we say, oh, hey, you guys, you got Cujo over there in the corner. We need to make sure we got coverage for Cujo. So that's what we do. And thank you for your attention to this very important information. We appreciate you. We thank you for taking us early, and we thank you for allowing us to come so far in advance.
Thank you very much for coming out today. Trustee Myers?
Can you tell us the total payout we did last year on claims?
I can get that to you in a report. Yes, I have that. Mm-hmm.
Do you have it here tonight, or?
I don't have the total dollar amount because I didn't tally that up for you, but I do have that total. I have it at my disposal. I can get it in email to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have the number of, not the total dollar amount, do you had the number of claims that was processed? by any
Yes,
chance?
I have that as well.
Okay.
I'll get that both to
Could
you.
you fax it to the board members when you get a chance, or email us? Or send it to Debbie, so you can send it out?
I'll send it to Madam Clerk, yes.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Trustee Tates?
Mrs. Wright-Lewis, thank you for being here. A couple of things when you started. You mentioned small claims. What kind of dollar amount, when you talk about we still have small claims that are existing, is there a dollar amount, or how do you determine what's a small claim?
Okay, so what we did for this purposes, Bruce broke down what claims would be over a certain threshold. Like you look at, is it a half the deductible, 25,000 and over? How many of those do I have? And that's what an underwriter would be looking at when she or he is doing your rating. So we focused on those as your larger items, but you may have a claim that's a $1,500 claim. We have those as well.
The second thing, you mentioned the employee manual, which I think has been in the works for us for a while. When are we going to see that?
Okay, I believe that Alderson and Sturk finished their last review, and Mr. Fairman, if I remember correctly, because this is an ongoing daily thing to make sure that it's released, it's either in the hands of the village right now for final release, or it is one more item being tweaked, but it's pretty much out of our hands. We have finished it, and the attorneys have, I believe, finished their review, and then the village has to roll it out. We're helping with the rollout, so any day it could be.
But your involvement is minimal.
Our involvement is we did the heavy lifting. We put it together and wrote up everything. Yeah, we finished that part.
One final thing, you talked about return to work earlier. Is there something in the manual, or who determines when an employee is ready to go back to work, and who says, okay, come on back to work? How does that work?
Illinois Public Risk Fund has their own internal adjusters, and they pretty much gauge where an employee is in their timeline of their recovery back to work. So if an employee has been released by their doctor and they have no restrictions, or they have minimal restrictions that still allow them to do a portion of their work, they then tell us, this employee can come back to work, no restrictions, or this employee can come back to work, but they can only lift 5 pounds on the left side. So then we would have to accommodate that employee if that is the case. But it's pretty much made, that determination is made by an adjuster, because they have to make sure that the employee fits the criteria from a workers' compensation standpoint, that they've been cleared to come back to work.
But they are going to be ADA compliant.
Two different things. ADA has nothing to do with the workers' comp. That's the Disability Act. So that does not even play into it. If an employee has a predisposition or a disability, that pre-existing condition, they would be returned to their state that they were in before they had the injury. So we're not trying to get them completely whole. If the person had some type of injury or disability that this village was already accommodating, we get them back to that state, or to a state where they are workable and maybe with an adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Myers?
Your company will make the decision if that employee is at his best as he was when he got injured, and he can come back and work. Your company will evaluate that and decide if he can come back to work then, correct?
No, the claims adjuster does that.
Okay.
What we do is we work with the claims adjuster. If we have questions, or we believe that maybe an employee may be malingering, we then contact the adjusters to say, hey, we have knowledge that this employee can return to work, or that this employee has been doing X, Y, Z outside of work, and we want to get that looked into further, and we think that the employee can return. But we don't make that proclamation at all. We have to, the adjuster is the one that
So
does
it's
it.
a separate adjuster that does the evaluation, then you guys come in.
It's from the insurance company itself. Now, on the other side, the liability side, we have more that doesn't involve employees, but that's where we have more say on how things go. But that's not employees at all. It's not employee driven.
So if the village has a potential large liability, then your company will step in and recommend us to take care of that liability where it won't come a major lawsuit.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
And I know that they said this a couple times, but if anybody has any questions, make sure you guys reach out to Mr. Fairman. And then this has got to be done by the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
So hopefully on the first board meeting of March. Okay, item number 3, public comment. All questions and comments must be directed to the chair. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to speak on topics of their choice. Each speaker will be allowed 1 opportunity to speak. And as per usual, I will write down the questions and address them to whoever they concern if they don't concern myself directly. Ms. Houston, you ready?
Bernice Brewer, on behalf of the Sauk Citizen and Public Awareness, I want to thank the Oilers Group for coming out, giving us a presentation.
Can you use your mic, please? Thank you.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions. Recently, we had controversy with the senior center. So does your insurance policy continue to cover any residents while they use the senior center as well as the community center? And we don't have to get an additional $500,000 policy as directed by certain people here in the village? Does that cover that?
Miss, address the chair, please.
Oh, does it cover that? Does insurance cover that? Secondly, you said you didn't want to, I'm not understand, raise the retention rate. However, in response to a FOIA request, we have 10 discrimination claims, 10 false arrest claims, 9 breach of duties, false arrest, civil rights violation, and discrimination. All that relates to the police department. I'd like to know how you guys going to do this when every time you turn around, somebody from the police department is suing the village. I'm talking about employees for this money. So, and in addition to that, you just took out $165,000 from the water fund to do this. So I'd like to know how is that going to be addressed and you only get $50,000 and why you aren't raising the retention fee. Secondly, is my last question and concern. My attorney, according to my attorney, Sauk Village was offered $650,000 from YRC and Roadway to address the contamination of well number 3. Now, it's my understanding that well 3, the water beneath well 3, is not fit for human consumption. That decision has not been reversed. The ongoing cost of operating airstripping will surpass the $650,000 and will be offset in less than 2 years. If you guys decide to take that money, history has shown us that if you put that $650,000 in the general fund, we won't know where it's at. And then we'll still have the infrastructure that has to be repaired. We still will have, the water will still be contaminated. Roadway is not taking any credit for anything. They say they didn't do it. So, and not only that, Illinois EPA has given Roadway and YRC millions of dollars to clear up the site. Yet, you guys are considering taking with compromised immune systems, since nobody's asking. I have a few more minutes to finish. I'm almost finished.
The rules are 3 minutes. Continue.
Okay. With compromising immune system won't be addressed, I would like to know how many of you guys are willing to throw residents on the bus.
Okay, that's
Under
your
the
time.
bus.
That's your time.
She didn't say time, you did.
No, she did say time.
Okay.
You were talking, so you couldn't hear her.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the senior center and insurance, I think that this was explained to you downtown in the what did you guys have, a mediation situation, and I think that it's been explained multiple times that, and for anybody who's in the audience or for anybody who told you, each individual committee does not need to have their own insurance.
I know.
So let me state that again. Each individual committee does not need to have their own insurance. The village has insurance, so that would answer that question. As far as why not raising retention fees, this board hasn't decided to address anything yet. We've just been given the information. So we're not gonna say, yes, we're gonna do it, no, we're not gonna do it. I will let you address that when I answer her third question. As far as what your attorney told you, I don't know how your attorney has any information because it's attorney-client privilege, number one. Anything that we discussed about that is already pending litigation. It was discussed in executive session, so unless your attorney was back there, I'm not sure how that information got out, but there's nothing that anybody on this board can discuss with you about that because that lawsuit has been in litigation for as long as, you know how long it's been in litigation.
Yeah, I know.
So anything that this village is talking about, no one up here is gonna address.
Okay.
So that's not gonna be anything that anybody up here can talk about.
My point is not to throw the residents.
I understand, but we're not gonna discuss any settlements. There's nothing.
I just wanted to be out there so people know that you guys have been offered something. I'm hoping you guys don't take it, have enough sense to look out for the residents' best interest, not your own.
Well,
my personal opinion.
okay.
All right.
And then if you'd like to address.
I want to clear up what you are saying as a retention. It is not a fee. It is not a retainer. What a retention is another word for a deductible. So you would liken it to your own personal automobile insurance. Do you want a higher deductible or a lower deductible? Well, if you have a good driving record, you want as low a deductible as possible. You want to keep the limit the same if you are a safe driving Miss Daisy driver. If you have a driving record that's good and you want to take a higher risk, you can increase your deductible and have a lower premium. So those are the ways you work that. On this program, what the retention is called a self-insured retention, and it is a deductible for the village. We would not want to absorb more of the deductible at the village level. We'd rather use that money into operations. So you want to keep your retentions as low as possible in comparison to your operations and what you have to do for the village. Some villages, some cities have retentions as high as $1 million, but they have the budget to support that. Here, a $50,000 retention for the size of the town that you are and your exposures is pretty commensurate with where you should be. So us keeping that retention where it is helps to affect your budget by you not having to absorb more if you get a loss. So the losses that you talked about, the police liability losses that occurred in the past, some that are still occurring, it is in our best interest to try to make sure that we maintain the retentions as low as possible so that the village doesn't have to come out of pocket with as much money. So that is what the retention is. It's more like a fancier word for a deductible. It's just, it has different implications for a municipality. It's not something that you want to go up unless you can support it with your budget. Others who can support it with their budget, they may have a higher retention. What that does for you, it allows you to ride the wave above where all of the stuff is happening so that an insurance company is not going to say, well, we decline to quote you next year, or we got to get out of the market. It kind of, the higher you go in the retentions is a more sophisticated account that says, I have allocated funds into a loss fund to pay for claims. I've allocated money that nobody touches except for claims. And I'm managing that. When you get to that, grow up to that stage, and that may be something that, but we are not on that type of program. This is not a program where you can absorb that type of risk yet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Pat Couch. Madam Pro Tem, I have something I would like to read, and then I can explain it after, if you don't mind.
Okay. As long as it's 3 minutes.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. This is an article that was posted in Facebook regarding myself by a Mrs. Jones, who is not here tonight, I see. She commented that, LOL, they were so funny. She thought she was the police. She lied up there, claiming people were illegally parked. Sit your miserable behind down. You and your fellow P.L.A.N, K-L-A-N members were just upset that the residents are tired of the bullcrap that has been going on, and she thought she was going to see the same faces supporting someone that they are jealous of. Talking about the people in the vehicle was talking too loud, another lie. You seen what was going on, and now you are scared. I can't wait for this election so all of them in the audience can go back to their holes. On top of that, you worried about who's in front of your house, and all you have is abandoned homes around you. See what the problem? See, that's the problem, and your priorities are messed up. Get a life. She is accusing me of lying about having to call the police on a situation that occurred in front of my home. In the meantime, since she thinks I'm lying, I did go to the police department. There is the police report and their subsequent, I did FOIA the information. There is the log from the police department that says right down the line how a woman started passing out political pamphlets parked in a gray SUV on the wrong side of the street. And then the dispatch logged in, can hear yelling on the phone from inside my home. Then the dispatcher continued to tell the address and so forth. There is the information that I did FOIA, and if Mrs. Jones has any other questions about me lying, I'd be glad to give her a copy.
Get a life.
Please keep it, please. Let's be civil. We've had a good meeting. Let's continue it. Use the mic, please.
1933, 216th place. When it was talking about the money being spent or how it being spent, I think
Can you use the mic, please?
if you would just simply listen to or think about this, there's $535,000 owed to this village in back taxes. People do not pay the taxes, they do not pay the water bill, and that is what caused us to be so deeply in debt. Also, there was a big lawsuit filed about fecal matter in the water. We got to look at that and find out where that came from. There's also different foils out there that have been answered. $20,000 worth of foils, which was given to people they didn't do nothing with. That's where the money goes. So I think what we all should learn, when we have guests in this audience out here, quit trying to imply that you get, if it's back there in that building, it should never be out here in public. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Perfect. Okay. Miscellaneous comments from the Board of Trustees. Trustee Burgess?
Okay. I do have a question, and I'm glad. I don't know, I've tried to get this answered, but every time I came to get it answered, today, Mr. Fairman wasn't here, and then last week, I wasn't able to get an answer, so I'm hoping that you or the clerk could relay this to the mayor or whoever. The last accounting, the last time we took money out of the water fund, the last time that was asked as the consensus to take money out, I'd like to find out what was the, what trustees actually voted it out, because I said for just payroll only, so I understand everything else is taken out. So I just wanted to find out how that vote went, if we can find that out, because I didn't think we had the money or to take or to pay those vendors at that time, but we do have to fulfill our obligations to our employees and to their benefits. So, and I had asked this, not just this time, but the last time we took money out of the water fund, I asked also what trustees actually gave their consent And I asked it at a board meeting and no one raised their hand. So those two things I'd like to know, to have on record, so we could know how that money was voted out, even though it was taken out. I'd just like to know what trustees or what record do we have of who took that out. And just a thought, and this is just a comment to in regards to the village itself. I hope that we make this the last time that we comment on Facebook, about Facebook, or what happened on Facebook at an open board meeting. If we're gonna do that, then we might as well just get a TV in here or computer or whatever, but to comment on an open board meeting where we're trying to conduct business about what happened on Facebook, that's a search engine. Facebook was created for people to get on there and say what they want to say, do what they want to do, without virtually any supervision. At a board meeting that we're trying to conduct business, or at least listen to proposals from people that are trying to do business, to ask a question about something that someone said, this or that, I just think it's the wrong venue, especially at a board meeting. Thank you.
Trustee Tates?
Thank you. At a board meeting, questions were raised about the FOIAs, and I've heard some comments tonight about FOIAs. And it was said at the meeting that the FOIAs are caused by 3 individuals and they cost the village money, which they're having difficulty paying their bills. Now, you have to understand one thing about FOIAs. Any citizen can submit a FOIA that wants to submit it. So you can't stop people from submitting FOIAs. But here's something else to think about. Each entity, each group has a FOIA officer who's supposed to receive the FOIAs and process it. In Sauk Village, we tend to send our FOIAs to the attorney. That's where the money is spent. It's not spent from the employee processing it, it's spent from the attorneys reviewing it. Not everything has to go through the attorneys. There are things that can be done internally to address a FOIA. Now, Trustee Williams-Bay, a resident asked for a copy of the aging report, and she said the FOIA, and we've heard the mayor say the FOIA. All the time. You cannot discourage people for FOIAing information if you tell them that's what they need to do. So we can't have it both ways. Either we say FOIA anything you want to and let every resident send a FOIA, and we pay the attorneys $165 an hour for it, or we become more professional and have an individual to do that. Now, the way the structure is in Sauk Village, as I understand it, is not set up properly for FOIAs to be handled internally. And if anyone knows anything about FOIAs, they would understand that the way the village operates is not appropriate. And it costs money to send things to the attorney. So we need to get smart. Either we want them to FOIA everything and we just bite the bullet on it, or we stop complaining about people that use that system. You can't do both. You absolutely cannot do both. Now, yes, sir.
He said that's not him talking. Continue, Trustee Tates.
So when you start looking at how we're spending money that we should not be spending, and I know people disagree with that, but when we have agendas, and we have agendas every meeting, and these go to our attorneys also. So why do we send agendas to our attorney for his review or her review and approval? So look at how we're spending money. Now, somebody commented about money being taken from the water fund. And the water fund is a fat piggy bank for the village. I hope that no one has a water main break near their home and the village needs to purchase equipment to repair it and can't do it because there's not money there. I hope that doesn't happen. But when we take money from the water fund and we pay for non-water related items, that's what happens. So we know the water main breaks happen out here. Most people should know. There's water main breaks all over the village practically. And we should be prepared to help those residents repair those water breaks, protect their property, and safeguard the residents of Sauk Village. But when our water fund gets down to zero, or close to zero, and there's a water main break, and we cannot afford to buy the equipment to repair the water main break, then that becomes an issue, I think. So let's take a look at the whole picture. Let's take a look at the whole picture. Water fund has money in it, so you take it and you pay everything. But what about emergencies in the village? Does anybody care about emergencies in the village? I can guarantee you that the homes where these water main breaks have occurred, the residents wish there was some way to protect them, or the water mains could have been prepared sooner, or the water mains could have been avoided. We're not doing the smart thing when it comes to the water main breaks. We're not doing the smart thing when it comes to FOIAs. We're just not doing the right things. And with any amount of leadership, we would have some of these things resolved. It's simple leadership. You know, we sit here, and I sat here at the last meeting and heard audience members attacking each other. And I mean verbally attacking, I don't mean physically attacking, but verbally attacking each other. Because they get that from us. We set the example. When we have people up here who talk about you in the audience, who says what you said on Facebook, and those kind of things are just should not be allowed. When trustees and elected officials sit up here and read biblical scriptures to protect or to safeguard or whatever they're doing, there's a certain thing called separation of church and state. And we should not be sitting up here quoting biblical scriptures. It's good. If you're religious, it's good. But I do not think this is the time or the place to be doing it. And we set the example. So when we attack you, then you attack each other, and everybody's having a good time. It's a Donnybrook. We should not be addressing you and what you do on Facebook, what your house looks like, how you dress. We should not even be concerned about that. But if we're concerned about how you look, how you dress, where you live, what you said on Facebook, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing right here. So I hope that we refocus. I really hope we refocus. But if we don't, then we can continue to do what we're doing now. I mean, it's okay for some. Let's let everybody talk about each other. Let's talk about each other's mother, father, sister, brother. Let's just talk about each other. And we won't get a damn thing done in the meeting. Focus on the meeting, focus on what the village needs. What's best for the village? Change what we're doing or continue doing the same thing. Thank you.
Trustee Jones?
Well, I'm not going to waste any more time about Facebook. That's totally a waste of time. But April 14th, we will be filling the Easter eggs for the Easter egg hunt. If anyone would like to volunteer, please contact me and let me know your availability. We're going to do it at Good Friday, probably in the morning time. So if you would like to volunteer, please let me know.
He said, no, that would be Saturday. So 4/14,
That's Good Friday.
okay, then it's not the day before Easter then.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Just a few things. First of all, I want to announce that Neighborhood Watch will be having our regular meeting as we have every month on the second Monday at the fire station at 7 o'clock on March the 13th. I want to invite those residents that would like to be a part of Neighborhood Watch to come and attend our monthly meetings that we have every month. Second of all, I want to announce that we are having different residents, public or private residents, citizens, businesses that would like to contribute to our Unity in the Community concert that we have coming over at Rickover School on March the 10th. We are very excited about this concert. We have a packed performance list of residents and some performance that's going to be outside of Sauk Village that will be there to participate in our Unity in the Community. Ms. Daryl King from 102.3 FM radio station, Daryl King and the Bling Bling, is very excited about coming to Rickover Junior High School, coming to Sauk Village, as well as our special artist, Willie the Entertainer. And we are just so excited as a committee to put this concert on, a free concert for everyone in the community. It's family friendly, so you can bring the children, the grandparents, anybody can come. The doors will open at exactly 5:30 at Rickover School on Friday night, March the 10th at 6 o'clock. Approximately 6 o'clock, the program will begin. And we are going to be in for a great evening doing something that's never been done before at Sauk Village. So we're very excited about it, and we are spreading it throughout the community. Our official flyers will be ready this weekend, and we will be disseminating those throughout the community as well. So this is the last opportunity if somebody wanted to be on the program, and you know somebody that have talent in Sauk Village that want to be on the program, you need to let me know by this weekend, because we are doing our program and it will be closed. Again, it is free to everyone that would like to come out. Just want to touch bases on a few things that I heard tonight. You know, as an elected official, we all are in the community for the most part, especially during this time of the season. And we hear a lot, we see a lot. Residents ask a lot of questions. They want to know a lot about what they hear, what they see. I just feel that since we did make a decision that at every meeting, any resident can speak on any topic that they want. We used to have only the first and the third meetings that they could talk about whatever they want, and the second and fourth Tuesday they could talk about agenda items only. Now that we made a decision that residents can talk about whatever they want at any meeting, I feel that any resident have a right to talk about whatever they have a concern about. They have 3 minutes to talk. I hear some very asinine things from up here as well as from out there. I've heard people call the mayor an a-hole, a jag-off. I've heard people threaten to bring their whole families to come jump on people. So to say that, you know, residents don't have a right to get up and say whatever is near and dear to them on their block, at their home, in their community. I was out talking to people all day, yesterday and today, and some of the things that residents hear that never come here, they know everything going on verbatim. As far as FOIAs are concerned, I am always FOIA'd. I'm used to it. Joe Wisdawazi forwarded me this week for Neighborhood Watch from the book bag to today, and it's just amazing to me. The funds that we have are not funds that come from the village. The mayor gave none of us a budget. All the money that my committee raised, we raised by either private donations or public donations, or we solicit from the neighborhood, and we'll go and tag with permission from the police department. And it just makes me feel good to be FOIA, because it lets me know I have something doing worth FOIAing. Some people you can't FOIA their committee because they're doing absolutely nothing, have never done nothing, are not doing nothing, and don't want to do nothing. And I disseminate that information throughout the village. I am FOIA'd when I have programs for your children. I am FOIA'd, and my committee is FOIA'd when we raise money for book bags for you. People don't like us doing things. They want things to just be drab and the same. People lie and they confuse residents by telling them different things. But when you educate the community and let them know what's going on, the people really understand. understand, boy, it makes a big difference once people are enlightened. So I'm not gonna stop having programs just so that I don't be for you. I don't care about that. For you, anything that I'm doing as much as you want to. I'm gonna keep on having programs for the youth. I'm gonna keep on having unity programs for the community. We have had seminars for the businesses where we had refreshments and donuts the Neighborhood Watch paid for. And anything that the committee vote on or we talk about at Neighborhood Watch that we want to come and we want to do, and if the committee is willing to raise our own money to make those programs happen, I'm going to sing loud and clear to make sure that every 3,000 households in this village know I am personally and my committee is attacked for having programs to benefit this village. So keep on forward in anything I do because I really don't care. And finally, I want to say that I want to thank all of those that have come on board and support Neighborhood Watch. You know, it's a lot going on right now. We're having a lot of fun putting this concert together. Oh my God, I went in one neighborhood and one of the residents came out and she was like, I want the people on my block to do something. And she called a group of kids over there. She was like, this is Trustee Washington. Neighborhood Watch is having a concert. Y'all want to be in it? And the girls got together. They just started putting together a little thing right there. I said, you guys want to do that at Rico? But they was like, we want to do it. So when you have young people, and we have 1,700 young people in Sauk Village that attend Wagner, Strasburg, Rickover, and Bloom Trail, and those that are under 21 years old. 1,700 young people live in this village. And you want to attack any committee that's trying to do something positive to keep those kids off the street, I welcome every FOIA you bring. And that concludes my comments.
You don't want to attack when people trying to do stuff with kids.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a couple items tonight. First of all, I'm proud and I'm glad it finally happened that the Housing Authority is now signing complaints on people breaking into these vacant homes and using them, moving in and making a homestead out of them. Well, now the Housing Authority is signing, working with the police department in Cook County, and we're starting to bring these people to the county court. Way to go. We want to keep it up. The other thing, I'm going to cover that in that last. I was also notified, unfortunately, that Cook County Housing Authority decided to not grant us I think it was $250,000 in the money to help clean up some of these vacant homes and everything because of the negativity that is going around in the newspaper and everything else. So I'm asking the mayor if the village clerk could assist me in forwarding the minutes of the Cook County meeting they had that night discussing the money.
I'm sorry. You can't pass those out in this room. Sorry. No problem.
Okay. Assist me in getting that for you ready for it.
Could you please repeat and use the microphone? Please repeat. That's just part of not the floor. Okay. Ms. Houston would like to hear you say FOIA just one more time. There you go. So if you could please cover what you FOIA means.
Okay. It's the minutes of the Cook County meeting. They had discussed where the money goes to different organizations and towns and more so forth. Saukville was up for, I believe it was $250,000, $300,000 to help to assist us in taking care of these vacant homes, like boarding them up, and mowing the grass, and etc. That was denied from one of the commissioners or a couple of commissioners, and his statement was similar to he feels that the money shouldn't go to Sauk Village because all the negativity is going on about Sauk Village in the newspaper and so forth. That makes me pretty angry because I'm also a Cook County resident. So if you got a problem with Sauk Village, come out, let's talk about it. Sure, every town in the entire Cook County has some type of a problem. But, you know, to defy us that way, it's not right. One of the things, I think the police chief is still here. Today, I didn't witness it, but I was in the building when one of our employees was attacked. A clerk at her desk taking receipts and stuff for the water or whatever she was taking. An employee literally attacked her, and I don't think she was injured enough to go to the hospital or anything, but I do know the police was involved. Chief, could you enlighten us a little bit more, please? On the attack at the village hall today on one of our clerks.
It was Cindy. She was taking money for a payment. The individual wasn't happy with how she was handling it and reached over and punched her in the face. So we immediately placed her under arrest, and she is now a guest of the village until tomorrow.
That brings me up to the reason I brought this up. I'm urging the board to see if we can get our public works superintendent to get some of the half-inch Lexan or some type of protection up there on up front to protect these girls. Because all you have to do now is reach over and your arm's length at any one of those people up there, one of the employees. We should not, and I think I had a young lady in the audience, we should not allow our employees or put them in situations like that. So we have to make some type of effort to protect these people at the front desk. And the best way to do it is put some type of barrier between our employees and the general public. I didn't say a solid wall, just some type of barrier. And I like the backing of the board where we can move on to Kevin to see what he can look into and get something up there. And last is the fire department is taking applications for firefighters. If you know any young people, male, female, ages 18 to whatever, and the first thing they do, they go through a drug test and they go through a background, then they go through a complete 1,500 physical. And with that, they can pick it up anytime from 6 to 6 at the fire station. And that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Just a couple of things. Thank you. I'm sure that what you just mentioned about the incident out there is one of those things that Valerie was looking for. Any of those liabilities we might have out there that she didn't, that Owens Group didn't foresee, that's apparently one of them. And I'm surprised that that happened. I'm really expecting, I guess, on the other end, just a couple of things. We are continuing to work on Student Government Day. As everybody knows, the village turns 60 this year. So we are working on the programming for that. I received word today that they are finalizing the list for the students for Student Government Day. So we will be rolling that out soon. I'm very excited about that. And we also got the finalists for the Village Sticker Contest. So we're in the process of voting for that because we do need to get that in soon. It takes a while for them to do it. Couple of things. Trustee Washington has brought up earlier, and I had it written down, so just kind of piggybacking on that. There was an ordinance that was passed that said anybody can come to that microphone and talk about whatever they want for free. I wasn't for it, but it passed. This is why. So that's the first thing. I think people, this is an election season, okay? There's going to be heated feelings. There's going to be things on Facebook. There's going to be things that in the hallways. I'm just going to ask that when we're in this meeting and we're conducting business, that we remember that we're here to conduct business first. We don't need the yelling and the back and forth with each other. Trustee Tate's mentioned it. You know, residents sniping and going back and forth with each other. It's not necessary. Going back and forth with us is not necessary, and we don't need to do it to each other. You mentioned before it starts with us. I thoroughly agree with that. It does start with us. It started with us years ago, and that's when we became a circus. And I've said multiple times in up here, I don't want to be a part of the circus. We just need to understand, discuss what needs to happen, and move on. That's just what needs to happen. We talked about, a resident talked about where the money was, $550,000. I think you mentioned $535,000. I believe that number is just residential taxes, but I want to remind people, there are businesses in Sauk Village who haven't paid their taxes too. And we wonder where the money is and why we're taking money from the water fund and things like that. You know, there aren't many options. When you mentioned 500, I think the total is around $550,000. That's from 2015. Those are taxes that weren't paid in 2015. What about 2014? to go for emergencies, for infrastructure, and I was told, even though I was the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, that was not my job to present to the committee. So I backed off. But again, if we would have did that 4 months ago, we would have had a whole lot of money in there right now, because it's just been 4 months. But if we had an emergency tomorrow, we might have had something to do with it. Again, work smarter, not harder. We need to think about that. We talked about FOIAs. And Trustee Tate, she stated that I told the residents of FOIA the aging report. What I told her was that I would look into see if I could give her a copy, but until that time, if she needed the information right then, she might get it more quickly if she FOIA'd it. But I agree, information should be readily available, but I don't make a determination of what information is available. And I'm not going to give somebody something until I'm told I can. That could be a liability too. We talked about FOIA's going through attorneys. When FOIA process became popular a couple years ago, FOIA's were in-house. Everything, they were all in-house. And then people got litigious. And they sued us. This FOIA is, that's a very good question. There's an owl in here. This isn't the information I wanted. Well, you didn't ask this question. Well, let me ask another question. It was the Attorney General about something that happened eons ago. And they keep bringing it up and keep bringing it up and keep going to court, keep going to court for no reason, because everybody is saying that nothing happened. But this is why things have to go through the attorney. Because when we try to keep it in-house, and when we try to do what the village thought was right, after hours and hours and days of training for the FOIA officers, people still were taking them to court. So we said, hey, let's try to stay out of court, let's go for the attorneys. But now that's a problem because we're spending money with the attorneys. Also, you mentioned that the agendas go through the attorneys. That's not true. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that that process doesn't happen. Okay. If every agenda went through the attorney bills, but I'm telling you, we pay a lot more than we do. There may be a agenda for some reason that needs to go through the attorney, but I'm telling you, the agenda process does not work that way. And I could have the mayor who creates the agenda and give it to the village clerk to talk about. I could have either one of them address that with the board, but I'm telling you, the agendas do not go through the attorneys. And just the last thing, Trustee Myers mentioned about the fact that we did not get that funding due to items that were in the newspapers. And I know that we talked about Facebook tonight. A lot of people do get their news as Facebook. This generation, and I'm not guilty of it, but I'm talking about my people, my generation, look to Facebook on their phone or something like that. So I just caution anybody who cares one iota about this village needs to understand that when you put something on Facebook, especially if it in any way references Sauk Village, specifically with a logo and a name, when you put something negatively about Sauk Village, you have to understand that that's the first thing that people will look at. They're going to check Facebook. They're going to check the crime stats. They're going to check all these things. When we talk about how do we get more residents in the house, how do we get more businesses in here, we're live. Valerie talked about Cook and Will County. We've got 3.5 acres of will, and Indiana's knocking on our door. As a business, and you know that both of those places have lower tax base, why come to Sauk Village? We don't need the negativity. We don't need the negativity in here. We don't need the negativity on Facebook. We don't need the negativity in the newspapers. So, again, we're only an hour and 20 minutes. We've done a lot of meetings longer than this. So again, when we talk about the negativity coming out, understand it comes both ways. The faces and the comments, they're not necessary. But if that's what you need to do to sleep at night, I guess that's what you should do. But we need to understand. Let's move forward, okay? Stop the negativity. It's not worth it. No matter who's going to be, again, it's election season, no matter who's going to be sitting in any of these seats, come May, you still have a job to do. You still have a village to run. And if you let people on Facebook run it to the ground, there's no point in continuing to run. The last thing I'm going to say, and I see that Mr. Casale is no recording, election materials cannot be passed out of this room. That piece. Why did you do that? All those in favor?